Thank you all for coming today. It's kind of late in the day, so it kind of feels like we could have a beer or something. This time of the day. So, and we have it.
Out of those two fridges.
Yeah. We could sneak it out if anybody wants it. But welcome to all of you. Welcome to the Building Industry Association. I'm Bryce Johnson. I'm the CEO for the Building Industry Association. I'm also the plan administrator for the FM Home Builders Health Plan and Trust, which is the second organization we run. And I'm the foundation administrator for the Home Builders Care Foundation, which is our charitable arm. So all three entities work together in one way or another. They're all operated under this roof by 7 full-time staff and then a ton of volunteers. So we welcome you to our house today. What I would like to do real quickly before we get started is just allow our members that are here attending today introduce themselves. And if you've been involved in a leadership role or are in a leadership role or committee, please state your name, your company, and what role that is with the BIA or the health plan or charity. So start with Toby.
Sure. Hi, Toby Christensen. One of the owners of Cameron Cross Time Construction in South Moorhead. Moorhead residents since came from MSUM in 1979. Farmed on by Otter Tail Lake. Married and wife and four children, and 3 of our 4 kids are married with grandkids here in Moorhead in the Moorhead schools. So companies in Moorhead, I live in Moorhead. Been an active member of the BIA for many years. Served as a chair of the charitable foundation on that committee for years, public issues committee for years. And I am a board trustee of the health plan and trust. Thanks for being here. Thanks for being willing to serve. It's not easy to put your face and your thoughts and ideas into the stuff that are in the public sometimes, especially in today's political arena.
Yes, very much.
So thanks.
Thanks, Toby. Lori?
I'm Lori Jo River. I'm with Cascade Community Land Trust.
Trent Garrett's with Cascade Community Land Trust, and I serve on the Public Issues Committee.
I work at the Building Industry Association, and I'm an education and public affairs specialist.
I'm Brenda Holman. I'm in the finance industry. I work at Western State Bank and do mortgages. I've been a Moorhead resident for over 25 years. So I just like to hear and learn about Moorhead as we grow.
Wonderful. It's great to have you here. I saw somebody walk by the door, so we might have somebody else step in. But just to lay a little bit of the ground rules out too. But first of all, thank you for being here, and thank you for those of you that are already in office and serving. We appreciate what you're doing, and thank you to those of you that are running for office. As Toby mentioned, it is really hard in today's environment. Just stepping up for civic duty and public service is, I don't know why anybody wants to do it anymore. It's not an easy job. So we appreciate that you're brave and that you're willing to commit your time to something like this. So we're grateful for that. These forums really give us an opportunity to get to know who you are, but it also gives us an opportunity to share with how important the building industry is to a community, to a jurisdiction, to the residents of that community, and so on. And ultimately, our goal is to build communities. Having residents invest in their communities is one of the most important things for economic health. And you need diverse housing stock to be able to do that. It isn't just about home ownership. You need rental housing, you need senior housing, you need all different types of diverse housing. And with that comes, with rooftops, generally you have schools being built, you have commercial development occurring so that there are amenities and shopping, which again keeps putting into that system, feeds into that system for the economic health of the region. So that's what we do. That's what we focus on. So hopefully you'll get to know us a little better too as we move along. So for the ground rules, we'll ask each of you to introduce yourself and give you 2 minutes to do that, just because we have kind of a large group. And then for fairness, Elizabeth has some cards. So when she gets to yellow, that means you have about 30 seconds left, and red means you need to just wrap it up. So that way each of you get to answer questions and you get to get through everything. We will do a question and answer session, and we'll limit that to 1 minute and do the 30-second yellow card and to wrap it up. And then we'll also at the end have you do a closing statement and do a 1 minute for that as well with the same rules. So I again would like to thank our members that are here today to just participate in this, which I'm assuming, well, I know many of them are residents as well for Moorhead, so that's wonderful. And then I'd also like to just direct your attention to the poster that says Very Invested Partners. Those companies invest in the BIA to help us be able to put on these types of events. So thank you to Xcel Energy for the Platinum VIP, All-Star Bell Bank, All-Star Construction Bell Bank, Radiant Homes, and Blue Cross Blue Shield as well for their support. Yeah, the VIPs are very important to us being able to put on all these different activities that we do. Last thing to note, we are going to record this. It is recording right now, and we do that so that we can share it with the membership when we're done. So with that, I would also like to make sure everyone knows it's fairly casual. If you would like to build on a question that we've asked, do so. Just interject. If you're shy, you can text me. But if you want to build on it, or if you want to go in a different direction too, that's totally fine. So feel free to interrupt. So with that, we're going to start on this end, and then we'll take turns in terms of rotating who goes first and last. But what is a new idea that you would like to see occur in Moorhead? Something that you would like to see happen or implemented, and then we'll go ahead and begin with you.
Should I start with my intro though?
Oh, yes, I'm sorry. I mean, yes, I'm sorry. We've had a crush of a day, so I am clearly trying to wrap things up a little quickly. Should
I can
be.
get a clothing stand.
Yeah, no, thank you, Matt. You're doing it.
So Matt Gilbertson, I am currently the Ward 1 council member. I'm finishing up my first term. My wife and I are lifelong Moorhead residents. We raised 3 kids in the Moorhead public school system. 2 of them are technically adults, so life is getting a little easier. I own 2 businesses in Moorhead. I've been a chiropractor since 1997, when we moved back after she graduated college. Opened up a indoor golf place 3.5 years ago in South Moorhead. We're in the process of building a new building downtown to help the redevelopment of downtown. It's kind of why I'm running again, is the city's gonna take over the rights or ownership of the mall here October 18th, and we got one chance to do it right. If you look at the footprint of the mall, which is 19 acres, current taxable value is 20 million. Kevin Barkerman and Downtown Chiropractic are building buildings in the east parking lot. Their value in that at 40 million. That's just one building of 10 that's gonna be coming in the next 8 to 10 years. Growing up here, growing up early, we've seen a lot of changes. You look at, we need 3,700 housing units in the next 10 years. Like you said, that's gonna be all anywhere from affordable to high-end, multi-unit. The downtown level, we're 1,000 housing units when it's all said and done, 150,000 square feet of commercial space. You got the Emory building, which is 40%. The Emory building, South Moorhead, was 40% low income, and that was the fastest filling building in the enclave ever built. So they went ahead and put 2 more. They sped up the 2 across to the east there, and they're full market rate apartments. That's why I'm here.
All right, thank you. Emily?
All right, so Emily Moore, I'm a candidate for Ward 2, and I guess I just want to start out by saying I have limited knowledge in the building industry. I have not had any professional experience in that realm, but a fun fact about me is that my dad was a construction worker and was a bricklayer in the 1970s when I was born. So it is close to my heart. And I was born and raised in the DC, Maryland, Virginia area. Moved here about 10 years ago. My husband served 22 years in the Air Force, and after 11 different duty stations, we weren't sure where to call home. And he knew a specific job he was looking for, applied all over the country, and we got a call from Moorhead, Minnesota. And I looked at the map and I said, "Are you serious?" You've got to be kidding me. And they flew us out and we met with the school superintendent, the city manager, the police chief, the fire chief. And honestly, we fell in love. We just fell in love with the idea of growing our family in this town with these people. And we moved here. Funny story as well, I had no one to put on emergency contact for my children's forms when I sent them to school. So I called a realtor and I said, "Can you be my emergency contact for my kids?" And he agreed. So I just really feel like that's the Moorhead way. And anyway, we have loved it here, and I stepped back in my role. Prior to moving here, I was an Air Force civilian. I stepped back from that role and became the CEO of my household, COO and CFO and brand office. So I have one that just headed off to college, and I now have the time and space to do a bit more. I'm excited to step into this role as a council member.
Thank you.
It's so nice to be here and nice to meet a couple of the other candidates tonight. So my name is Noelle Hardin. I am running in Ward 3. I live near Woodlawn Park with my son Barry and my partner Chris. I like to say I'm very proud to own one of the oldest and smallest homes in Moorhead. My house was built in 1900 and is 700 square feet.
Oh, wow.
So I'm very proud though, because that's what I was able to afford 5 years ago. I was a single parent when I purchased my home. I also grew up moving around the country a lot. My family experienced housing insecurity, food insecurity. We didn't own a car at times. So the concerns of working families and making sure that people in our community have access to housing, have access to food, and live where they can be easily connected with neighbors and with support resources, those are really important to me. I've worked for 13 years with the University of Minnesota Extension in Moorhead. And my entire job has been to identify community needs and then figure out how to get together the resources to address those needs. So some of the issues that I've worked on around the state include food insecurity, poverty, the opioid epidemic, participatory budgeting, community resilience. So in other words, I really like to work on all the easy stuff. My priorities are to support the quality of life for all families in Moorhead, especially the most vulnerable. I also would like to protect public health and safety through a comprehensive community first approach that I've really honed through the diversity of initiatives that I've worked on professionally and my number of years in community facilitation. And then last, I would like to be an effective steward of our city budget. We know that we are growing and increasing our tax base, providing more housing is what will enable us to continue to grow as a community. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Noelle. Sebastian?
Sebastian McDougall, currently Ward 4 on City Council, running for my first election. Last year, Steve Lindas resigned, went to DC, and I interviewed with a number of other individuals and was chosen to be on City Council. Lifelong Moorhead resident, along with my wife. We've raised 2 boys that have gone through Moorhead as well. One's a foreman for Lemke, and the other is working in a startup media company. So that's kind of interesting. He went to school for auto mechanics. So I don't know the crossover, but somehow it works. So it's still cars. So I guess that works. Before I was on City Council, I also served on Moorhead Court. Also simultaneously served on NPS as well. So kind of the reason why I'm looking to be elected this time is I've seen so many projects that we've started just for parks alone, be it reimagining Romkey now, the National Playground finally come through, inclusive playground, Matson baseball field, the community center downtown. There's so many projects that have been a part from the beginning of it that I kind of like to see it all the way through to the other side, being on the council side. So I'm like, oh, well, this is just kind of a great opportunity for me to kind of be in that situation. There's also echo a lot of what Matt said about all the housing and the need for that. And more importantly, want to see a lot more businesses come to Moorhead as well. I mean, when you think of South Moorhead, how many restaurants can you go to? 2, 3, 4? Yeah, something like that. There's not very many, so. Yeah. All the time.
Will not stop.
Don't worry.
Lunch is in the front.
Zach.
My name is Zach Levine. It will be exactly 10 years by February that I would be living in Moorhead. I was this much close actually to leave this city. To be honest, you have to have a very good motivation to stay here. It is very, very different where I came from. I was working as a translator for US Army for 8 years. This is how I came and ended up living in Moorhead. I was a translator for US Army in Iraqi Kurdistan, and I was granted special immigrant visa that was for those who helped the US Army. And so the reason why I chose here because I knew some families I wanted to live close by, families that I knew. I'm a very people person, so that's why one of the priorities that I have in my work would be community engagement. After COVID, a lot of things happen. People are like kept keeping themselves indoors and they don't come outside. It reflects in schoolwork. So also I'm a teacher. I'm Moorhead High. I mean, I was a teacher back home before becoming a translator. So when I came here, I started going back to school. I finished my master's in teaching English as a second language. Now I'm an EL teacher. And beside that, I also teach my first language as a heritage class at Moorhead High. This is my third year working on my Tier 3 license. And the reason why I actually ran for work for is because of my community needs. Our community members, they usually, especially those who are originally not from here, they complain about things going on here. And so when opportunities come, so I want to join and the workforce, I want to join the places where we can make decisions and make our community members understand how the system is working over here. So one of the things is housing, affordable housing. So I was able to actually buy my house like 2 years ago and become a teacher and get more engaged with community members and that's kind of like it.
Awesome. That's wonderful. All right. Well, and thank you to all of you for filling out the forms too. Those are really helpful for us to, just because we can go back and reference, and it's fun to know what your background is and just your involvement and achievements in the community. So thank you for that. Is this the first forum that you guys have all participated in? Wow, that's surprising that there hasn't been one yet. Okay.
There's one next Tuesday.
Awesome.
2 questionnaires last week and 6-minute video last week.
Oh, wow, I hope you did a save on one of them if we were the first and copy and paste.
Yeah.
So and again, if anybody has questions, just feel free to jump in. Now's an appropriate time to start with my questions, so so sorry about that, but yes, what new idea are you basically bringing to the table in Moorhead? So we started with Matthew, so we'll go with Emily on this one.
I can ask a follow-up on it real quick.
Sure.
And you ask in terms of a new idea specifically with building and housing or with any new idea?
Just in general, any new idea that
Okay.
you'd like to see,
Okay.
kick off.
Yeah.
And by the way, bricklayers are so hard to come by now. That is really, masons that's a lost art.
Yeah.
It's something that we're really, it's troubling. And there's a few yet.
Yeah.
But they're getting older, so
Yeah.
anyway, yeah, so,
My bricklayer is 72, so I
Oh,
don't know
yeah,
to it. But-
yeah.
All right, so one new idea I have that I am very excited about and have spoken with the police chief about. I have one of my sons, he's a stepson, is a Moorhead City police officer. And my number one priority is public safety. I have extraordinary concerns about what's going on with our police department with our numbers right now, as well as we have a chief that's retiring and our deputy chief retiring, struggling for retention and struggling with recruitment. That means forced overtime. It means my kid often doesn't have backup when he goes on a call. So
Oh.
I would like to really focus on recruitment. And one way I think we can do that is by having our police officers have assigned take-home vehicles if they live in the city. I think it would encourage them to buy houses in the city, live in our city, and then they would not have to switch out vehicles at the end of their shift. This is important for safety because oftentimes there's, I'm just gonna be blunt, there's blood in the back of their vehicles. I've also seen needles in the back of their vehicles. So for safety, it would be beneficial as well. Thank you.
Great, thank you.
This is the 1 minute response.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm trying to go real fast.
Yeah, you did great. So a new idea that I would like to bring that I've worked on extensively is participatory budgeting, which is basically giving more people a voice in how our dollars get raised and spent. So this is an idea that has been sweeping the world and the United States, and that I've really spearheaded to bring to Minnesota through my work with the U. Last summer, my employer sent me out to Scotland so that I could meet with their local authorities across the country, where they all have a mandate to use participatory budgeting and resident voice to allocate at least 1% of their budget. So I think this would be a really powerful idea for Moorhead. One thing that I've heard as I've been out door knocking is the very surprising statement from residents that they don't want their taxes lowered, but they want to have more say and more assurances that their tax dollars are being put to good use. And I think that if we gave more people ownership and input in our city budgeting process, that people would feel more invested in what we're spending money on, just like it has worked in other countries.
Great question. The first thing that comes to my mind is kind of alluded to earlier in my introduction. I really would like to see a lot more businesses come over to Moorhead. I think that's a huge asset that we not create. I think a lot of places are coming over here to this side of the river. Much like I said, our church did, but I'd like to see more businesses grow within Moorhead. I think we need to be extremely more business friendly, especially with the new downtown project and the way everything is expanding more. So there's a couple things on the plate right now that just got brought up, but I think really that's really what I want to see here happen.
Fine, thank you. Zach?
Very simple and straightforward. I just want to move or bring whatever we have in the north side or the other parts of Moorhead to south. Okay, we don't have a lot of things, just like Noel said, we have like issues with police, and I know we definitely need a firehouse in south. This is one of the most important issues that we are facing. It's very far, and it's time taken for the responders to come over to the south. And also, just like Sebastian said, yeah, more businesses. We don't have a lot of businesses in the south. Yeah, housing, yes, we do have housing. It's growing down there, okay. But we still have issues. We have some companies actually building houses, but they rent. So it indicates that a lot of people need affordability and access to housing.
Thank you.
It's not necessarily new, but it's one that's just kind of starting to get being brought up and probably needs to be a little harder. You know, having a training facility, police training facility in Moorhead instead of going to, you know, they got to go to Alexandria. Or on this side, they get in training. You know, they get in training while they're working. So I know there's been some talk about it, but we really need to probably start screaming about that to get that done and good. Perfect education system, not more and more likely to be able to take that over.
Thank you. All right. We'll start with Noelle on the next one. Thinking to the future, what issue is Moorhead going to be dealing with? And is there any way that the BIA can assist in that?
Absolutely. I think one of the most important issues, which we've already heard about, is housing. We need to have more housing units, and we also really need the right kind of housing. We are missing kind of the middle area of apartment dwellings, for example, that have between 2 and 9 units. We don't have the kind of affordable housing that we need, particularly in the new houses that are being built. are very much not affordable for the people in our community who need that housing. So I think that we need to continue to build. I think we also need to be strategic about what we're incentivizing and making sure that there's some matching between community needs and what we're encouraging people to build. I also think that we need to be paying attention to issues like connectivity when we're building new housing. So how are people going to be able to get around? How close will they be to amenities like restaurants or places where they would like to shop? So yeah, I would love to partner together to work on the housing issue.
You read your question, Lindsay?
Yes, thinking to the future, what issue is Moorhead going to be dealing with? And are there ways the BIA can assist?
Again, I think Noel kind of hit it on the head there too, with the affordable housing. We're obviously lacking that. And being able to have access to, like say, smaller neighborhoods with access to businesses, restaurants, like she said as well. I don't know if it's something that the BIA can help, but is there a way of educating or finding ways to get some information out to help push that crop? I don't say push, but at least let people be aware of how that is and how we change things, because the number one thing I think you face right away is people are very resistant to change, where we've had this field here for the longest time. Also now someone wants to come in and build here. Everyone's all up in an uproar, but yet at the same time, they're complaining that they don't have that amenity. It's like, we want it, but not near me.
Right.
So I don't know if that's even something that can be done, but I just think that would extremely help everybody be able to grow.
All right, thank you.
I just feel like Moorhead is growing in terms of population, so we need to have like affordable housing, just like everybody said. But how can we do that? By changing or modifying the zoning laws, I believe. Just like Emily said, that she is fine and satisfied with the unit that she's living in. So why not giving chances to those people who are just satisfied with smaller units, right? And this is number one. Number two is by increasing housing and having a lot of people, population, we need to make sure that we have enough jobs also for them. So maybe this can be done by creating a better relationship between vocational training centers and schools with the with the companies. I know that there are so many talented people, but they have some barriers, actually, maybe language barriers, maybe license barriers. So we can put something big for making this job easier.
All right, thank you. Matthew.
Well, might as well stay on the housing team. But I mean, I think we're still in the same spot we were 4 years ago when we talked about it's cost more to build in Moorhead than it does Fargo. You know, and I think we still have those policy issues. I mean, you guys are working on that. You continue to work on that. You know, we actually had more housing permits in West Fargo. That was this year or last year? Last year, you know, so I mean, that's big. It had in the right direction. We're still at 1,000 units that lost within the city, instead of going to expand the areas, we need to infill. We need more builders in, you know, they're licensed to build in Minnesota. I like how, you know, you guys have, you know, you're the regional voice, and I know you're very proactive in the Minnesota legislature, and I think together we can get some stuff accomplished.
Inject in here, being housing is my deal, right? That's what I do for a living. Minnesota has some great programs out there, like for first generation buyers that, you know, they're giving out the 35,000 and they're forgiving it over time. Is there any programs that Moorhead's looking to maybe add on to that to help more people be able to afford homes?
That is a great question. Look, let's allow Emily.
Oh,
to
sorry.
first. No, that's okay, but that's perfect. That's what we want to do. So allow you to do the first, and then we'll bring on the next one. Do you need me to repeat it?
I
Or
got it. So, and I did write down some thoughts on it. So, and I'm just gonna stick with the housing because that's where we are. And especially when you're talking about the BIA assist. So one thing that really surprised me as I've been getting on about, I spoke with the director of CCRI, and she mentioned that they are actually building their own houses because it's cheaper for her to build her own house then go in and convert a house for people
Special
with disabilities or special needs. So I think that that is something that BIA could assist with, that maybe we could look at. It seems like CCRI's focus should be on the amazing care and work that they do, and builders should be building them homes that can support their cause. So it seemed a little bit counterintuitive to me that she needed to do that job because there wasn't something available that she could pay for. I also, one other thought is that we were told there's $1 billion in Minnesota state funds. And so if we are paying taxes, $1 billion worth of taxes to the states to support housing shortage, like, let's get that money. And how do we advocate for it in Moorhead?
Wonderful. And so, before we go to Brenda's question, just a couple of things that you had all mentioned. The BIA, Building Industry Association, has been at the table with the MetroCog housing study, which, the reference to the units 2 to 9, affordable housing. And is many of the individuals that are here. So, we're routinely bugging them, as a group. We would like to bring the building industry in to have a conversation with leaders in the region, elected officials, to talk about what the barriers are, because the building industry, as you noted, the product might not be produced. Why is it not being produced? We're in a free market. It's the products are market driven, as it should be. And they're building what is being purchased in the market. So what's affordable and attainable? So that gap, the missing middle, the products aren't being produced because it's not feasible to produce them and sell them or rent them. So that is the problem. There's a gap in financing and ability to afford those products. Tiny homes, different tiny home developments have been talked about. Community Land Trust is here. And talked about, do they do a development? Could we have the NIMBY issue? Nobody wants a habitat home in the middle of their neighborhood. But they want habitat homes, so anyway, so those are all barriers that we all face and the question is, why is the builder not building or the developer isn't producing? There's a lot of challenges that come up in terms of what can be produced. So, okay, will you ask your question again? So it was a great question, but I won't be able to repeat
I
it.
remember.
What's that?
I remember.
Okay, and we would be starting with Sebastian then.
So go ahead and repeat that.
I'm not as smart as he is, I guess.
Just talking about housing, right? And so the state of Minnesota has got programs out there for first-time home buyers and step-up programs for certain individuals and the first generation program. Is there any plan that Moorhead can, for the city of Moorhead to help out first-time home buyers or people moving back into the state to get them to move to Moorhead versus Fargo? Obviously, I do financing, so I do both North Dakota and Minnesota, and so Moorhead resident, I would like to see Moorhead grow, and they have some great programs. But is there anything that Moorhead can do? I know right now, if you build, they have incentives, which is a great building incentive. But what about other incentives to make to help with utility costs or something to incent people to move to Moorhead versus Fargo?
I don't know what we could do directly right off the top of my head, besides promote the living heck out of it, just because I think most people aren't even aware of those items. Yeah, that's a great question. That's the first thing that comes to my mind, is being able to do that, because I think we get a little bit more, might get a little bit more traction with that. Especially now with St. Paul and everyone else realizing that we are kind of the second largest urban area in the state of Minnesota now. We've actually gotten some grants, a lot more grant money that we never used to get. I don't remember the grant we just received not that long ago, maybe Matt remembers, but like, let's just say that the total pot that the state got was $35 million. Minneapolis urban area took 34 million, then distributed the $1 million to the rest of the state. Well, Moorhead got that $1 million last year. So they're recognizing our growth. So maybe it's something a little more on the state side that we can try to help do to help promote Moorhead that way as well.
Zach?
I think the one that you talked about, the $35,000, sometimes people, the Moorhead residents, didn't need to be a lawmaker or a finance person to understand like the little details. I mean, recently, like a couple of years ago, I bought a house. Nobody told me about that. This needs to go down to the banks, and the banks have to directly and simply, very simply, like instruct the home buyers. Because I didn't know that. When I was. Okay.
Yeah, just came out. It's brand new.
Okay, Brandon, that's great. That's great. One of the things I'm thinking about is the maybe 1 year or 2 year tax exempt for the first time home buyers. That would be great, actually. That will like relieve that big burden on the home first time home buyers. That's what I'm thinking of right now.
Thank you. Matthew?
Well, we get most of our funding from property tax, right? So the commercial's capped, the state picks up the difference. Or Fargo was talking about, they have we're keeping the 2 year new, build new. One thing that just came to me as we're sitting here, they have, some of the banks have grants for remodeling, fixing up older homes. Do we have that 2 year property tax exemption on the growth for the added value? Right, because we get assessed every year. So that's probably what, dig a little deeper into that. If they're getting 35 grand from the state, that's a big chunk of money.
Right.
It's gonna drive the cost of the house, it's gonna drive our cost of the houses. If somebody's got, new home buyers got 35 grand. And it's
Towards down payment, yeah.
but it's gonna drive the cost of our houses. That's the downside.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, appreciation is good, but yeah, you can set that.
It is when 51%, actually over 58% of our region can't afford the average price house. So, although I want my house to go up, if we really want to deal with affordable housing, you have a majority of our population cannot buy a house. So I don't understand necessarily how that 35,000, because it's down payment assistance. So the purchase price is the purchase price. I don't know how that would impact. I'm sure it will. I just don't understand the economics behind that, but because it's not like the seller would see where the financing is coming from, right? It'd really be no different than if I had $1 million sitting in the bank and I paid you $100,000 for your house.
There will be more buyers. Okay. So supply.
Emily, do you want to answer the question from Brenda first?
Yeah, I don't know if I have a specific different idea than what has been brought up already. Yeah, I think that we should go after that $1 million that the state funded and see what we can do with it. And my idea for how to do that would be to work with our county rep and collaborate with them and see what we can make happen here. I do think that Moorhead has a unique vibe. We're different, and I think that a lot of us are proud to be a little bit different. And I think that there is something to that, and that we promote our unique difference. I also think our downtown revitalization, if we get a square, kind of like Broadway Square, not that I want to make it exactly the same, but kind of bring in arts, bring in music, and then grow that community vibe and feel we will grow, even if it costs a little more. So.
Well, these are all great answers. I've been taking some notes, but I agree with Sebastian that awareness is huge. I know from working with Extension, it never ceases to amaze me how many people are struggling and there are resources that can support them and help them, and they just don't know that they exist. I also really appreciate Matt's point about older homes and what we can do there. I live in an older neighborhood. I feel really concerned when I talk with one of my neighbors, for example, who lives on a fixed income. He will not fix up the exterior of his home because he's scared to death about what that's going to do to his property taxes. So I think that's something that we really need to address so that we can fix up some of that aging infrastructure and also vacant homes. We have a lot of vacant homes in my neighborhood. So what can we do? And in some cases, it's working with absentee landlords to try and identify what's the issue here. Why aren't you fixing and renting out this home? And those create other issues such as safety as well in our communities.
All right, thank you. And a couple of things. Yeah, the city of Moorhead has a robust 2-year property tax exemption for new residential construction, which, we're grateful that that is maintained. I mean, you have one of the most robust, options out there compared to the other communities right now. And I think there's a question later related to that in terms of where it's at, because I know that Lisa had contacted us that the city council was gonna have it under consideration. Was that, because it hasn't gone through yet, right?
I think she said October and November.
Oh, October and November, but cities have to approve it and accept it again to,
I
so.
think
that
it's
it's-
every 2-year process.
Oh, okay,
I
so.
feel like it's every two, I feel like it comes up.
Yeah.
It could be, yeah, okay. And, but I wasn't aware that Moorhead doesn't have a remodeling exemption. Is that what you're saying? I wasn't aware.
Not that I'm aware of.
Oh, okay. And
I
I'm
certainly have never voted on anything like that. It just, it made me think, when the
Yeah.
conversation came up, made me think about looking into that.
That's very surprising.
It does take a couple of years to get caught up.
Yeah.
You know, like once you take a building
Yeah.
from, it's not like it's the
Yeah.
next year.
Does Clay County have the same type of thing that Cass County does for fixed income people, that they can do an exemption, or disabled veterans get a reduced property tax? Does Clay County have that?
I can't answer that. I
don't think we do.
I mean, I've never seen it, so I mean, is that something that I know property taxes are basically our income, but is that something that Moorhead would maybe consider? Because we have a lot of fixed income people. You get more house for your money in Moorhead, let's be honest. And that's my drive. And then for young families, our schools are amazing. I mean, it's obvious.
Yeah.
So, but it's really hard to get people to move across the river.
How would you recoup that revenue then?
I don't know, I'm just here looking for, I want to get my clients in the Moorhead because I believe in the city, I believe in the schools. I'm just looking for ideas, and it doesn't even have to be money wise. It could be bringing the arts and stuff and revitalizing downtown, all ideas are good ones.
Yeah.
And then on your fact, on your touch, the older homes being redone, couldn't they, isn't there still some Renaissance, wasn't there Renaissance funding? Renaissance funding, if I could say that talk, that was available, and then now isn't there, CBD, the community block grant? Up to $5,000 for people with fixed income to be able to do those things for fix up their homes and all that. That's not amazing.
There is a small program that city of Moorhead offers through the CDBG program that they get, I think it is up to 25,000.
Yeah.
Might be a little bit more than that in some cases, but
I think right now, the last time, a couple weeks ago, was 25,000, so.
yeah, and I want to say it's like a no interest or very, very low.
No interest, you're right.
Or something. I mean, it's nothing. I mean, it's a way, and if I remember correctly, you can certainly make payments on it, but when you go to sell your house, that's when you really pay it all off.
How much
So you
is that?
all in one.
It's for all, yeah.
And it could be a brand new house, it could be any house, it could be for green, if you want to change your
But you
windows,
have
it could be to have a.
You have to qualify for that, obviously, so it's probably gonna be
I-
to older houses, I think.
It's essentially income based.
I thought it was. I think you had to qualify. I don't remember what the standards were for it, but I do remember you.
I don't remember, there might be, but I don't remember there being income. I remember there being like, this is your primary home residence and a few things like that, but nothing monetarily. Cause I even looked at it when I was looking to get windows, like, hey, do I apply?
Yeah.
Apply for this? And I could.
Yeah, we actually, because we talked about it in the HRC with Tanya, she brought it up. I thought she said it was an income. I had to,
And it could be.
I had to double check.
Yeah, we can
Just to make sure.
Just want to apply for that.
What's that?
Where does one apply for that?
You did go to the website, see the website, give the information about it.
All good information, right?
Yeah, and just a couple of things again too. Fargo and I think West Fargo have a remodeling exemption for homes. They're either 25 years and older or 35 years and older.
I think it's 25.
25, so they lowered the threshold and they increased it from 3 years to 5 years in Fargo, for sure. I can't remember if they've done that in West Fargo, but that is huge. And so if you do siding and windows, 150 grand on your home, to have that 5-year property tax exemption is huge. It is a little shocking though, when it comes back on and you get that property tax notification then, after that 5th year, but, and then in terms of promoting, I think it's really important for any jurisdiction when they have these great offerings that they talk to the realtors, that they are working with FMAR, just like the Building Industry Association. When there are issues, we talk to the building officials and the planning department and engineering to find out why are housing permits not being taken out in a city? Where are the issues starting to evolve? Not just affordability and attainability and state laws, and state codes and things like that, but what is happening within the jurisdiction that they're not seeing activity. But the Fargo Moorhead Area Realtors is a great entity to work with to ensure that realtors know about your offerings, and in turn that they educate the buyer so that the buyer realizes after 2 years, it's going to come back on, and be prepared for this and be prepared for the new monthly payment. Same with if you were able to acquire a remodeling.
Easy to say, right? Because we're not the ones that have to do. we're not the same
Exactly.
folks, But
Yeah,
I would recommend you do it just as Moorhead does with their tax rebate program for new construction. That'd be a rebate. So you'd still pay the taxes on it, but you get the rebate at the end of the year. So that way you don't have.
you don't have it's coming on shocking.
We
Yeah.
primarily work with low to moderate income home buyers or homeowners. And so that's one of our big fears is that when there's a big change like that in their monthly mortgage, it can tax them out of their house. Literally. So,
Thank you for the clarification that it's a rebate.
Yeah.
Yes, big time, big time. So maybe there's a remodeling rebate to, try to figure out how to offer. Okay, any more questions from anybody?
This is not a well-formed question, so I apologize. As I see it, the reality is, and I'm a Moorhead guy, love Moorhead, lived in it for about 20 years now, on and off. We're competing with everybody in the region to get people here. I mean, the chances really of getting somebody from Virginia to look at a map and go, oh my gosh, I'm gonna go to Moorhead, right? How do we change that, right? I mean, our population we're trying to draw from is Fargo, Clay County, Cass County, maybe Richland, Wilkin, right? So how do we, as a city and as officials, compete to get people to come to Moorhead? I mean, I know we talk about some of these incentives and that stuff, but
Really draw.
really raw, because I envision a world where they do open up the map, they go, why wouldn't we live in Moorhead? I don't care if it's 20 below, we want to be there, right? Like, how do you, because that's what Fargo's captured. And that's what you have with the real estate agents. That's what you have with everybody. I mean, whether we want to promote it or not, you have some people within that help make those choices against you. I mean, you really do. Realtors are going to try to get people to go to Fargo compared to Moorhead. It's just a fact. You get a higher priced house. They get more commission. It's easier, less regulations, all the other things. And so, how do you anticipate outside of incentives? Because everybody can do incentives. Like, what's the plan to compete?
And we're gonna start with Zach. Sorry.
You should do just like what Fargo is doing. You just told me the answer, right?
But same thing, like,
Yeah, the state codes are.
Yeah, I mean, it could be as simple as that, but right, Moorhead is different than Fargo. I mean,
You need to love Moorhead in order to stay in Moorhead. And they offered me that also when I bought my house. Yes, they told me that. They told me it's a lot easier if you want to go to Fargo, and I had some friends also there. But I wanted to stay in Moorhead. I wanted my kids to go to the schools and I'm not originally from here, so I want to be close by those people who I already made a relationship with. It's not easy for me to move to another place and start building a relationship. Yeah, but I agree with you. And less regulations, I would say that. And not only this, I mean, businesses. I mean, we do have people in Moorhead, they open businesses in Fargo. So why? They talk about more taxes and regulations and things like that. So we need to address this.
All right, thank you.
Well, we can't move the river, or maybe we don't want to. But I'm on, It is being diverted, luckily to the west, but it comes down to building the amenities to get people that wanna live in more. I even live in Minnesota. I'm on the Greater Fargo Moorhead EDC board, and there's a $3 million workforce deal, and the website says live in Fargo.
Well,
Because nationally.
Yeah.
Everybody knows where Fargo is, right? So they're coming up here for jobs, or they're coming up here being recruited. Let's have better parks, let's have a better hockey team, better schools, football. I mean, so you have the amenities because we're roughly like 15% of, when they break down how they should fund this between Cass and Clay and Moorhead and Fargo, we're like 15%. So we're getting 15%. So when Fargo will bring them up here, then we got a wow.
Well, let me, Trent brought this up the other day to me, like, so you have the Cullen Hockey Arena and hockey is big in Moorhead. It's big, Fargo, Moorhead, whatever, it's big. But there's still a place for families to stay in Moorhead. There's no hotels. There's not, really not even close to the.
There's two, we lost two, unfortunately, so it's a net sum zero,
But, right, so I mean. Is it, and I don't know where those two were, honestly. I used to be from Moorhead. I know where.
And then there's a microtel on the south of Center Interstate.
Yeah.
That just comes down to, people, blackjack probably draws them to the Holiday Inn.
sure.
I mean, there's only so much a city can, there's only so much a city can do, but,
Yeah, but like you said, more restaurants and maybe a hotel that could even have a big enough space for a conference or something like that, just to bring people there. I mean, they're talking about the big conference center over in Fargo, right? So Moorhead possibly compete with that too. I mean, not maybe something that big, but
Yeah.
just to offer something even.
Right. Emily?
I feel like I'm the right person to answer this question. Because I didn't know anything about this entire area. I've never visited. I had never experienced it, just completely coming in blind, really, other than online research. So before I came here, I looked online, tried to figure it out, looked at the city website, looked great. And like I said, met with some really great folks here. And I can tell you, Moorhead has an insanely good orchestra. It has an insanely good theater program. It has an incredible career academy.
Yeah.
It sold me, hands down. And this is where I wanted my kids to go to school. This is where I wanted them to be. And it's where they've thrived. It's been incredible. So my son is in Indiana doing double-based performance right now because of Mr. Gold in the Moorhead schools. So I mean, I'm forever grateful for schools.
Well,
Yeah, so I agree with some of the challenges that have been identified, but I also think that we have a marketing problem than anything else. There are so many wonderful things in Moorhead, and as difficult as Minnesota can be with some of our policies, people can have a little more freedom on this side of the river. Their kids can get universal meals in the schools. They can benefit from the family sick and family leave policy that was passed recently, or they will be able to benefit soon. So I think that we need to be able to lift those things up and sell our community. We are not constantly doomed to live in the shadow of Fargo. I do not believe that. And when I'm talking with people at their doors, I've met a lot of people, guess what, who've moved over to Moorhead from Fargo. And it's a whole variety of reasons that they're doing so. Some that have come up today in conversation, and others that I think we could be a little bit more bold about than we currently are. And that's something I've fought for when I've worked on policies like residents having more freedom to grow their own food or do what they want on their own private property.
Bastion?
I tag along great with what Noel said. I also think we're starting to go in that right direction, even with talking with the MSUM president, the new one. The new things that we're all doing, like I had mentioned earlier, starting in Moorhead with the Reimagine Rumpke, the Matson, all those projects that we are starting now in the new community center. He himself has point blank said, hey, you've given us bullets in our gun, if you will, to recruit people to come to Moorhead and to stay in Moorhead and show that this stuff is all in Moorhead. He goes, well, currently we go, yeah, come here to MSUM, but you can do everything over here in Fargo. He goes, now you're starting to, we are headed in that right direction. And I think with Derek LaPointe and his crew, I think they're going to push them to get us down that avenue a lot faster and in a smart way as well. So we can actually better. Be great because we have so many great things going. Not to mention the new high school. Yeah, that's kind of amazing. That thing will be pretty cool when it's done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the academy is amazing.
Yes.
And Cass County can't even get theirs built. Bill being built. We're all for
Mention the Spanish immersion. They don't have that in Fargo, you know, that's an amazing program.
Yes.
My son went to that academy when he was in high school, and it outdoes MSUM's tech school right across the river, right across the street. It's incredible.
Wow. It is amazing.
Yeah, it is.
Okay, I will move on to another question unless somebody else wants to add on, or Toby, you got any? Thing yet? Okay.
I gotta run my business one.
Yeah. nope, that- And incidentally, the BIA is, I don't know if you've heard of the Health Tech Trades Career Expo at the Fargo Dome, 4,000 kids. The Moorhead Public Schools is a participant, so they send all their freshmen to that event. It's about 60 schools, between 50 and 60 schools, but the BIA actually manages the event at the Fargo Dome. It's a community-wide, region-wide event that brings all these schools together to see what career paths are available in the health tech and then the trades industry. And it's hands-on engaging activities we get to spotlight the construction industry. So if you have a chance, come up and check it out. It's not advertised to the public. It's December 3rd. It's Tuesday, December 3rd, at the Fargo Dome, and it's 21 years old. So it's a really neat event. But it's a prequel to the academies. We're hoping to hit kids. We have a lot of 6th through 12th grade schools that come, the smaller schools. They bring their middle schoolers. And the idea is we're trying to get the kids before they, already choose their classes and career paths, which some freshmen already start that. So we're hoping those 6th, 7th, and 8th graders still will look at, our industry as well. So, okay, so another question. Recently, the city of Moorhead, or the Moorhead City Council, voted to increase property taxes by 4.99% and approved a $746,100 preliminary tax levy for the Economic Development Authority. What are your thoughts on this move, and do you agree or disagree with the decision? If so, why or why not? Matthew, you start.
Since I voted for it, I'll start here. Well, so it's capped at 4.99.
Okay.
Right, we trimmed it down to get under 5. It can be lower, and it can't be higher.
Okay.
We can defend it because 70+% of our costs are employee wages and benefits. And we are trying to give higher than normal COLA. So it's coming down to, employee wages and benefits, and, we're not directly in those conversations. And also, you still need maintenance stuff. You still need to spend money on new vehicles and fix things up. And I've said it for 4 years at every budget meeting. The kids give me a Christmas list, cut it in half, and go from there. That's the way I look at it. That's the way I approach the city budget. Like, okay, give me your wish list, give me your need. Let's somewhere in the middle, so we can.
Okay, thank you. Emily?
I'm so glad you went first. I was at that city council meeting and it just cruised on through. And there was no discussion. There were no concerns from anybody in the room. So it seems as though the community is on board with it too. I feel like I should add that it's a lean and mean city employee situation that we've got going on in Moorhead. Many of those organizations are running with the same numbers they had in the 1970s while our community has exploded with growth. So they can justify those numbers. So I'm comfortable with it, and also I'm advocating for more wages for our employees, specifically for the police department and our fire staff. So we need a new firehouse, like Zach was saying. So anyway, I'm supportive.
Thank you. Noah?
Yeah, I'll also echo that I'm glad I didn't go first on this one. But I agree with Emily and Matt for the reasons that they listed. I also know that, for example, our police department wages are very low at the state level. And we're in a hyper competitive environment because of our location. So being able to have competitive wages for our city staff, I think is incredibly important. It's really expensive to have to replace staff who leave, whether they go across the river or to a different part of the state. There's a huge cost involved in that, not to mention just losing the years of experience, the connections to the community that people have. So I think it's really important for us to have competitive wages. I also know that there are times during the pandemic where we did very minimal property tax increases, and that's something that naturally waxes and wanes. And I have full confidence in our city manager and in our city employees to do the best they can to keep things affordable for property tax or property owners, as well as supporting our employees.
Thank you. Sebastian?
Well, I'm like Matt, I voted for it. Completely agree with what was all previously said too, but like Matt said, that's the cap, the highest we can go. Kind of touch on what Noala said is, yeah, back in COVID, I think the property tax was 0.29, I think is what it was. The very next year, they had to go over 5. To me, I do budgets for a living. That wasn't planning ahead. Yeah, I know it was a COVID year, but we should have planned a little bit higher, in my opinion, and been looking at our salaries. If our salaries are that deficient, why did it get so bad? For me, I have a hard time understanding because I do budgets and planning for a living. And I look at that and just think, hey, we should have slowly increased that as opposed to do what we're doing now. If we're being reactive, we should have been proactive in it. So.
Thank you. Zach?
Well, I support that, but under conditions actually. Because the school is trying also to do an increase also. I'm just hoping that it will not be a trend, like whenever they have a problem, they just resort to tax increase, because I mean, I have to remember that one of my priorities is housing. If the taxes are so high, so people will not be able to afford housing. So maybe looking for other resources like from the federal first, then the state, county, whatever they have. But that doesn't mean that we should not use this tool as well. So, yeah.
All right. Thank you. Anybody have any questions? Okay.
Try to figure out how to word one. So I also served on Churches United for the Homeless Board for 7 years, up till about 4 years ago. So the news in August and September and continuing, that plays into affordable housing and homelessness. And what role does the city have in trying to provide housing for individuals that are in shelters? What can they do to help alleviate this problem? And it gets into employment, education, mental illness, all of it.
Services.
Yeah.
On top of. Emily?
Yeah.
Sir?
Sure, absolutely. I was at the council meeting where the new pastor came in and discussed what was going on when he took over Churches United and the operational cost, and it's $250,000 a month to operate Churches United. And Churches United is serving individuals from as far as Detroit Lakes, and they have North Dakota residents there as well. So unsheltered from all over the area come there. They also serve, I believe, 7,000 families meals through Dorothy Day House or food pantry there, part of my works. Your question was, what is their role? I think they need to step up and have a larger role to make sure those operational costs can be covered, because if they are not covered, I think we're gonna grow into a bigger problem. I think they need to coordinate and collaborate with the county and get access to those Minnesota state funds, the taxes that we've already paid, the $1 billion, to help fund it. I also know that they're looking to the VA because any veterans that aren't living there are being supported through VA funding. So just some sort of a consistent, so that the wax and wane situation doesn't happen there and they have to shut down that one. That crisis is not gonna be something anyone in our community wants to see happen.
Thank you. Noel?
Yeah, first of all, I really appreciate this question. We had a little city meet and greet earlier this week, and I was really grateful to sit down with Chief Monroe and just ask, what is our response to the homeless population? What are we seeing since Fargo started cracking down on the encampments? And I was glad to hear that we do take kind of a different approach, where our police department tries to work with people who are living in the encampments or otherwise unhoused, and give people a grace period where they can remove their belongings. They also try to work with local organizations to help people navigate their situation, and work with Churches United and other entities. I also think we should really build on the fact that we have a community resource navigator position now in our police department, who is someone with a social work background, who can help residents, not just with the housing issue, but we also know that people are more likely to commit crimes when they're hungry, for example. So I think that we can build on some of the strengths that we already have and need to do so.
Thank you. Sebastian?
Right off top, I kind of agree a lot with what Emily had said, or yeah, Emily had to say, sorry. Sometimes I forget. In looking at that avenue, but the other aspect I look at it is there's a lot of mental health issues that need to be looked at at that point. My sister-in-law is on Fargo PD. She's an investigator now. She's worked hand in hand with the homeless down there, and was personally brought in double digits worth of individuals to get help, but they just don't have that mental capacity to think they need or deserve that type of treatment, and they prefer to be homeless, which is, well, I suppose to us, it's just one of the things. Yes, but I think there needs to be a lot more of that to help them out solve that situation. I have yet to talk to Devlin a little bit more one-on-one about some of his issues over there too, but yeah, it'd be something I should do.
Well, a couple months ago, actually, a family came. It was a single mom with 3 kids. One of them was special needs, and they didn't have a unit. But so we got some money from a nonprofit, so she was able to stay in a hotel for a while. But so because I work for the Community College American Development Organization, so we tried to apply for all the like housing programs. It was really tough, but eventually we got the voucher. I think increasing the housing programs like Section 8 voucher. This is one of the things. They do have a lot of big regulations and restrictions and things like that, but it should be removed for emergency cases like those families who have no units at all. They have no income. They do have special needs. I think we need to address that. To be honest, I don't know how, but I will be an advocate for that.
All right. Thank you. Matthew?
So we can continue to, work with the county and the state. We do tax increment financing for buildings. I believe we did a grant or approved a grant or donated some money for a new building up
Silver Linings.
Silver Linings. We have, I was kind of shocked his original pastor, the previous pastor came and talked to us a few times, and everything seemed fine and rosy. No, that's
That's kind of what it was like 3 or 4 years ago. Not, I don't want to say panic and roll, but certainly it was a shock to hear that it was that far. into it. We used to go into the line of credit, but it got paid off every year. Funding goes down in the summers and comes back up in the fall and this summer, of course, but it's a huge issue.
Yeah, we just need to be cognizant of that and, police with the police force, and now the recovery center is done. We just need to be an active partner in,
Coordinate.
yeah.
That too is that community resource person is getting to the root of the problem. It's they're homeless for a reason. It's not always alcoholism. It's not always, if they are a vet, I'm sorry, but our vet system is not the best. It's supposed to be the best. It's definitely by far not. One community resource person is not enough,
Well, and,
unfortunately.
there's just a portion of the population that is just not employable. They can't maintain a housing, or they don't want to be housed. They are okay with how they're living, and we don't understand that, but they will, you can't say, just go out and get a job. There's special needs there, whether it's mental illness or some sort of sickness or whatever. And but yeah, and it's especially with the state of Minnesota, it seems like there would be programming to work with communities, because it will just lead to more problems. In the end, people get scared, they want to walk in the parks and down by the river, they get scared. There may be individuals that are not even doing anything, but there's just a fear. But our police force, our public safety individuals, it's not their expertise. So then it eats up resources too. So it's a sad and frustrating situation. And then to see an organization like that's longstanding, that serves this population needs, that would be horrible to see something happen like that.
If I can add.
Yeah.
I might
Go
have
for
a
it.
question after I
Yeah.
get done talking with Jerry's coach. But the concern I have is, and certainly, unfortunately, I do feel that Churches United has some play in this, right? And you have a budget and you should try to follow that. But there's something obviously wrong with the system, because Clay County HRA just came and asked for $300,000. If you read through that proposal, it's all about operations. So so now the county, well, I think they asked, but I think you were already kind of voluntold that there's gonna be, that had to pass it, but, so it's an extra $300,000 that I'm getting taxed on from Clay County, because they can't operate their budget for whatever reason. It might be poor spending, it might be bad budget, I don't know what the situation is. All I know is it's an extra $300,000. And we need to find a way to work that system, and I would look at the city council to say, how can you help either fix that or find the avenues? I'm not saying that you need to go in there and, do their books. That's not what I'm suggesting, but there's obviously some things that are wrong that could potentially save us some money down the road. And Matt, I like your idea, or your point that you made related to that the city can only do so much. I love the fact that, that you said, hey, we're lean and mean with staff. Exactly right. My perception as somebody who's a low to moderate income home builder, who, shameless plug as I always do, but when you work with a land trust and we put you into a home, we help subsidize the difference between what people can afford and what the cost is. We do rehab, we do new construction, we do what we call affordability gap. All to say that through our shared equity model, every home that we develop stays affordable for low to moderate income households forever. Now, I appreciate that our staff is lean and mean. I appreciate the fact that the city can't do it alone. But as a city council member, if you're elected, what do you see your role in trying to create and bring those partnerships to the table that can help run that, help do those things? Us as an organization, by the way, this is a complete staff meeting. This is our entire office right here. We were able to get $5 million and nearly $7 million from Minnesota Housing in the past 3 years to help develop just about 65 units in Clay County. Well, if Moorhead doesn't want to work with me or see me as a valued partner, not suggesting that's the case, this is just the question.
Mhm.
Why would I want to invest our money to help bring 65 units into Moorhead? So my question really is, if elected, how do you see your role in bringing more partnerships to help do that lift? Because I'm with you, I think the entire community needs to do this. It can't just be the city, it can't just be the city council. But I don't see the city really going out and bringing more people to the table either.
Advocating for it. We're gonna start with Noel, and then this is the last question. That's okay. I'm gonna start.
I'm sorry, you're gonna what?
John, I'm sorry, what? He always takes like 4 minutes to ask a question, but you. You're on. Okay.
I love it. North though.
I'm the guy that always gets picked on input.
Chat another time.
Yeah.
Brilliant. So I might not know everything there is to know about development and the city code and all of that, but I do know a lot about how to bring people together. That has been my job as a facilitator with Extension for over a decade. And I've worked with groups of people who typically clash. I've been able to bring together conventional farmers with government, with scientists, with community members to address issues like water pollution coming from farms together. So, I'm really proud of my work also with opioid settlement funds and getting folks in a room together, a uniformed police officer next to a public health professional, next to a teacher, next to someone who's in long or even short-term recovery. So the way that I bring people together is to establish what are our common values? What can we work together on, even if we disagree about a lot of things? I have people map out what's happening in the community around this issue. Where are the opportunities to strengthen collaboration? Where are the gaps? I've also worked with our Resilient Moorhead group as a steering committee member to have everyone create reciprocal partnership maps, which is simply figuring out any given issue. How do I contribute to solving it? And what can I gain from the issue being solved? So I would love to take that approach on the city council.
You, Sebastian.
I guess my first thought is to lean more on our city staff to see why is it, let's just say it's trying to do stuff. Why is there a speed bump in there? Why aren't we doing this? If we have an opportunity to do something, an avenue to take care of something, why are we not engaging in that? Then if there's a reason why, how do we fix that? No offense, but I believe there's no such thing as a sacred cow. Everything's up for negotiation. I don't see why there should be any hesitation on any of that. Sidebar, with your question with the Church United and everything, could some of that, and you brought up, was it HRA? Could some of that be the discontinuance of ESSER funds and all that COVID funding that's come through? I see it a ton in my business right now with schools. Minneapolis, $135 million budget deficit. Clark County in Las Vegas, same thing. They just fired their CFO. So there's a lot of those fundings that are weaning off that entities got used to having. Is that part of the problem too? I don't know.
Could very well.
Yeah, I don't know. Sorry, going off subject.
Okay, no, that's okay, Zach.
So the question is why they don't do that. I don't know, but how? Just simply go out and reach out to the people. And if elected, I would say if any projects is brought to the table and they talk about, if I have no information about any specific thing, I have to reach out to those people who are really specialized in this field. And we are all learning, right? And we don't know a lot. Yeah, we know some, but we don't know a lot actually. So I have to reach out to people. I mean, my job as a community worker actually, so people are coming and ask questions about things. I have no answer to them, but my job has been reaching out to people and get them connected to the resources available. And so I would definitely come to you and say, okay, what's your opinion about this? And I will bring it up to the table and for discussion.
Thank you. Matthew?
So where are you building in Clay County?
Well, we're building 2 6-bedroom homes right now for multi-generational families in Johnson Farm. In Moorhead primarily, we do have a few homes over in Dilworth. We just bought one in Barnesville. that some of that money is not going to. So, you know, we serve all Clay County, so.
So you are going more, because I was gonna say, you know, the 2-year tax exemption's gotta be a big bonus if Dilworth and Barnesville aren't doing that, but you are using that avenue.
Well, yeah, our homeowners certainly, use that, but that's not what's getting them into the house. I mean, so as an example, these 6 bedrooms, because of the funding that we have from Minnesota Housing, we're gonna be able to get that down. It's about about $1 million project, total, and we're able to sell each one of those houses, if budget works, at about 250,000. So, you know, so now we have 6-bedroom houses that could actually be 8 or 9-bedroom houses for multi-generational living. And the reason why they're in Moorhead is because we happen to just have the right lots that we had bought that were sitting there doing nothing. So yeah, we have 3 projects in Dilworth, and like I said, one in Barnesville.
Okay, well, so, but I mean, it, you know, lowering the burden for you guys to build would be what the city of Moorhead can do. And we probably have to have more of those conversations, because, you know, I'm sure we all filled out the same answer. It's like collaborate with builders, developers, you know, we need twin homes and townhomes too, but state, you know, with the sprinkler system and the hindrance to that.
Yeah,
You know, and I'm surprised that
yes.
I'm actually, the thought of an 8-9 bedroom house, like that seems like that's,
What is the square footage on the multi-generational?
I'd have to go back.
Because 4,500 square feet triggers the sprinkler system requirement, right?
That's not,
It is, okay.
it's actually Thompson's helping us build it since they're
Staying under,
53.
okay. Okay.
Um,
But that is a concern. I mean, think big homes,
Yep.
big, require the sprinkler systems. But in a situation like, you know, where,
but then it also comes into multi.
yeah,
You know,
yeah,
it comes into the number of people,
yep,
I
yeah.
think, right?
All right,
Because
yep.
I can tell you commercially from experience, it's 5,000 square feet or 100 people
Oh, okay,
trips the sprinkler system.
okay.
You know,
Okay.
so, but I think it's just, you know, maybe offering more, looking at like, okay, let's look at where lots and where it would fit. And let's get the owner of the lot connected, and maybe, you know, in your case, maybe it's a 3-year or 4-year property tax exemption, you know, for the low and middle income.
To address
To
Yeah.
help address that, because all we're getting money is on the lot. Right?
No,
You know,
well, you get tax on,
we're getting the property tax on the lot,
in the house.
not if it's, no, I'm talking if it's.
Oh, yeah, that's right, yeah.
Yeah, if it's vacant, right? So maybe that's, you know, I think we just have to have more conversations around it and see what we can fit the piece into the puzzle. On, especially in your case, on smaller scale, because you're not going in and building 50 houses in Johnson Farms.
No.
So that would be my answer from a city council standpoint, from a city standpoint.
Which one?
Yeah. Emily, do you want to answer that?
Well, I think you've had a lot of great answers so far, but I would maybe say my dad always said, you need the right tool for the job. And it sounds like maybe we don't have the right tool for the job here in some situations and cases, and we need to look at if we have doers, connectors, researchers, who's doing this work and how we can do it better. And that would be my suggestion. I would also comment that I was very surprised at some of the questions that came up when we had questionnaires and being interviewed by others. There was often a question of, are you gonna talk to people? And I was just shocked. Like, look, is this not currently happening, right? Like, of course I'm gonna talk to people. Of course I wanna talk to my state representative and my county counterpart and my, right, like, this is the whole point of doing this work, is to talk with people and understand and grow and help and develop. And so I guess, I don't know if that has not been the case in the past. I think that maybe that is the case because this is a question that's coming to us, but I think we need to have coordination, collaboration, conversation, and make sure that we are making things happen the best way we can.
Yeah, that might be a reference to other elected leaders from the community that are maybe talking. Yeah, I'm not gonna say anything. It's being recorded.
So back on, it was like a couple blocks away from me. So that's it. I didn't want to, never called.
Our sons are like this.
We already,
I saw that too, I think he's pointing us a bit.
we already have the Ed
So-
John comment on this.
Stop being dumb.
Yeah, sorry. Actually, I'm gonna ask one thing and then we're gonna go into closing comments, but Trenton, can you just share because you recently built a twin home project, is that on the Fargo side?
Yes.
Do you want to just share the pricing and how crazy that was? Right now, this gives you an idea of what builders and developers are facing right now.
Well, we typically like to build infill lots, because there's less specials and those things that go with it. So we built a twin home on First Avenue South in Fargo. And the all-in, we did have to buy one lot and remove a house, so that did add about $100,000 to the cost, but the overall cost was about $850,000 for us to build. And that, fortunately, we had some funding. We had $200,000 in CDBG funds we could put towards it, but us as a land trust had to put an additional $256,000, I believe it was, that we figured out this morning, of our own funds into it to make it affordable. People that are at the 80% area median income level right now, at least when interest rates are about 6.5%, they're buying anywhere from 175 to about 225. Perfect 80% is like 225. So, we're selling these things at about 195,000 because that's what our market at 80% can afford.
But it cost you
But it costs us.
Like
person.
it's not less than 20% then, or 25% of cost.
Now, there's a few extra things that went in there. We ran into some contaminated soil and a few other things, so it's not like the best example necessarily,
Yeah. Yeah.
but still just building materials alone was just over 700,000.
And I think we had a parade home that was over, the twin home was over $500,000. And so that used to be, considered our entry level in transitional housing for single family home ownership, townhomes and twin homes, and getting into that step for first time home buyers. So that's really concerning how costly it's become. Okay, so we're gonna wrap it up and just with a 60-second closing. And I think we start with Sebastian this time, right? Okay. Okay.
Trent knows me.
Yeah.
You, any type of closing?
Yep, just whatever thoughts you want to share.
I don't want to go Trent knows me.
And I'm sorry, I think my brain started shutting down when I walked in the room, so don't feel bad.
I'm not the most gracious of speakers, so I'm here to look through and keep going, put some common sense into our city council we've had, just to try to keep us going in the right path. And I want to see us continue to keep building and growing. We have some challenging obstacles coming, but are great because we're growing in that aspect. Do I want to hammer for affordable housing and all that stuff? I certainly could, yeah, but those are always on the table we're looking to do. And it's for transparency and being an open door, 100%. If anybody knows me, they know I'm completely, can reach out to me at any point in time, open door policy big time. So yeah, feel free to reach out at any time. Yeah, all for me.
All right.
Not him.
Just teasing.
Time left.
Good.
You guys are gonna have fun over the next 3 weeks. Thanks, Sebastian. Zach, go ahead.
Well, if I elected, I'm just hoping that I can practically work on the visions and the priorities that I have. And I'm very close with the people and my community members. So the priorities that I have, it's not mine, it's the communities. It's the communities. So hopefully, if elected, I will work on that and I will need his help. I'm hoping that he will support me if I elected because I promise I'll help him if he's elected.
Oh, awesome. Wonderful. Thank you. Matthew?
Yeah, so I'm running for re-election, to keep the growth going. Everything we talked about today comes down to what's the best way for the city to make, to lessen the burden is commercial property tax. All said and done, the downtown Moorhead is gonna be $500,000 or $500 million. That money can be used, you know, granted, there's Renaissance zone, so it's not day one.
Yeah.
But when it's all said and done, that money can then also be used to, you know, employees and benefits and just, you know, keep that going. People bring businesses, you know, go where people are. That's why downtown Moorhead will see an increase in businesses. South Moorhead, you know, we need housing.
All right, thank you. Emily?
Well, thank you first for hosting this really fun event. I feel as though you may have ruined us for all future forums. Yeah. I've just enjoyed it thoroughly and I really enjoyed learning a lot as well. So my platform is for a safer, stronger, sustainable, and more vibrant community. Like I said, moved here 10 years ago, wouldn't change it. Still love it and plan to stay here. One of our kids was in the Marine Corps at the time when we moved here, and he has since, he's the police officer now, so he's since moved here with his wife. And so I've enjoyed growing our family here, and yeah, just thanks for having us.
Wonderful, thank you. Noelle?
Yeah, I really echo what Emily shared about just feeling so grateful. I was nervous walking in the door. I'll be the first to admit that. But just getting to have this conversation with you and with the other candidates, I feel like there's so much that we can work on together. Lori, what you said about root causes is something that I'll really take with me. I work on systems in my job. I train public health professionals in Minnesota and across the country to take a systems approach in their work. So I think, you know, we are proud of Moorhead, but I also think that we need to work regionally, which was another recommendation in the MetroCog study. I've been involved with starting our Cass Clay Food Commission, which has been going for 10 years strong. We have helped our jurisdictions adopt more consistent food system policy. And I would love to be involved in thinking more regionally about how we address housing and development issues. I'm a really collaborative person. I'm very open-minded. As I mentioned earlier, I grew up all across the country. So I'll work with anyone who shares the same goal as putting community first.
Wonderful. Well, thank you. Thank you to all of you. Thank you for serving in the capacity that you're serving in and for running. We really can't thank you enough. Like I mentioned earlier, it's not an easy job, but I think City of Moorhead is very, very fortunate. They're blessed to have all of you, you know, stepping up to serve the community. So thank you for that. Thank you to all of you for coming. And anytime, please reach out to the BIA, to myself or Elizabeth. We can be a resource to you. And I know Matthew and Sebastian, we've had the opportunity to, the BIA hosts events for members. So as council members or city leaders, you know, whatever capacity, if you're on a committee with the city, we routinely host events where members and city leaders can meet. That's the idea, is to get, you know, an understanding of what the challenges of bringing residents in to live permanently in the city of Moorhead, to grow your community. And we're here to help. We are a resource. We can give you lots of data and statistics as well. In fact, we are doing an economic impact study. Our city New Year's celebration, January 30th, Dr. Dietz from, I forgot his first name. Rob, I've only known him for like 20 years. Dr. Rob, he will be coming from DC to present that study. But it's a regional study that will show the impact of building. And for that every $1,000 price increase on a home in the city of Moorhead, what it means to your community, how many buyers it knocks out of buying power. So it'll be very interesting. We're excited to have him come, and but we look forward to, you know, working with any of you again. Just thank you very much for your time, and stuff that you put into the questionnaire too. And I hope you have fun next week and for the next forums, but it was really enjoyable to have you here today. We appreciate it. So thank you.